Where's the princess? Was all anyone could ask in the palace that morning. Princess Adora had not slept in her room the night before. A maid had just found out as she brought in breakfast. Panic had set in and everyone was running around. How it all started. In the village of Amuno, a village known for its wealth due to its ability to grow rich coffee beans, there lived a poor farmer named Ineka. Ineka was an old woman who never got a chance at love, as on her wedding day, her groom died on his way to pay her dowry. Anyone that heard the news called her unfortunate. Soon, the bright-eyed young woman was reduced to nothing as the whispers and taunts from villagers drove her semi-crazy, often having full-blown conversations with herself. Also in this village was King Uchena's only child, Princess Adora, who was popular for her beauty. It was rumored the goddess of beauty had been present during her birth. Princess Adora was treasured by her parents, giving anything she would ask for, which caused her to be arrogant. She would talk down on anyone who she felt disregarded her, and soon this attitude caused her parents to worry. How can the princess be so mean? Her mother would often lament, as she watched her daughter slap a maid for stepping on her shadow. What can we do? Her father asked the dibia, whom he consulted on Adora's behavior. After narrating how she spat on the child, who wanted to hug her as she took her evening strolls, calling the little boy a leech who wanted to stain her beauty. Let me consult the gods, the dibia replied. But no matter how many times he threw the calories or chanted, the answer was the same. A deafening silence. The gods have chosen to remain silent on this matter, the dibia finally replied. Ha! Wise one, please help me. This is my only child. The gods cannot remain silent. Help me, King Uche pleaded. Your Highness, let me consult my ancestral mothers. They might be able to help. Another round of calories throwing ensued, and soon a revelation was made. The princess was about to have an encounter that could either ruin or save her. They advised the princess be kept under lockdown for 7 days. Adora made her objection made. Immediately her father, King Uchenna, declared the lockdown. You must listen to your father and mother, Queen Uloma, yelled as guards blocked Adora from leaving the palace. Days went by and it seemed as if Princess Adora was adhering to the king's lockdown. But on the night of the 7th day, Adora, who did not believe the revelation or fear the consequences, snuck out of the palace. After making sure the guards in front of her room were asleep, from the kunu she had given them, she had walked past them, waving and making silly faces to confirm they were asleep. Excited over the new freedom, Adora hurried over to the square, where she knew would be bustling with activities. Today was the day the musical band from the neighboring village would be visiting, and not even her father the king could stop her from meeting him. She had heard tales of his enchanting voice, and his face that was more beautiful than a woman's, and tonight, Princess Adora wanted to see things for herself. I must not be late, she muttered. My daughter, please help me carry this over to that tree, a voice called, making the princess snap her head to see who had the guts to ask her to do such menial tasks. As she looked at the owner of the voice, she was met with a dirty-looking Ineka, who had gone to harvest a rare herb that could only be harvested at night. She intended to sell it at the square that night, despite being ill. She was almost collapsing when she saw Adora, who she didn't know was a princess. As she looked at Adora expectantly for help, the princess walked over to Ineka, stretching her hands as if to help her. And as Ineka smiled, "Thank you," she said, giving Adora the basket of herbs. But as soon as the basket was in Adora's hands, she flung the basket at Ineka, hitting her on the stomach. Ineka, who was still dizzy from earlier, lost her stamina and fell. Adora laughed at her and walked away, leaving Ineka to nurse her wounds. The next morning, as the palace buzzed with activity, it was finally day 7. The king and queen were happy Adora had complied with the revelation. Just then, a maid ran in crying. The princess did not sleep in her room, she said. What do you mean she did not sleep in her room? The king thundered. Where's the princess? Guards and maids chorused as the palace was searched. Yet Adora was not found. We have found the princess, some guards said, as they rushed into the king's room where he was consoling the queen. Adora was found in the quarters of the palace domestic animals, entangled with a dog, hugging and raining it with praises, no matter how the guards called her or how her mother cried. Adora could only see the dog. I have found my better half, she declared proudly, as she placed a kiss on the dog. Alarmed, the Dibia was called into the palace for a resolution. He consulted the gods, and this time they spoke. Adora must be allowed to wander with the dog for 1 month, after which a solution may be offered. And so, for 1 month, Adora slept, ate and did everything with the dog. She refused to part with it. The king instructed word wasn't to come out about his daughter's condition, and so Adora was locked in her quarters as a taboo that was never to be exposed. Day after day, her mother would weep, while her father refused to eat. After 1 month, the Dibia returned to the palace, where he disclosed what Adora had done to Ineka. Ineka was a water child, married to a god in the spirit realm, which had prevented her from marrying in the human realm. But Ineka had died the night Adora pushed her, and as she died, she placed a curse on Adora. "Ah!" the queen cried. "What can we do?" King Uchenna pleaded. The princess must have her bath in the stream of widows and vow to never marry, living this life of luxury and continuing with the late Ineka's famine, living a life of simplicity, away from the throne forever. The Dibia revealed. Desperate to heal their daughter, the king and queen agreed to every term given to them. Not long after, all the rites were carried out and Adora had to leave the palace, alongside the dog who had gotten fond of her. Princess Adora, the once proud beauty, continued the legacy of crazy Ineka. Alone, poor and sometimes crazy, a price for her arrogance and disobedience. Thank you so much for listening to this story, guys. Tell me, do you think Adora got the right punishment, or do you think the punishment was a little too much for her crime? Hey besties! Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your support. I don't take it for granted. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe already. On this channel, I currently have a membership program going on, and it's just for a little fee. You get exclusive perks that not just anybody gets. You get to tell me the kind of stories, titles, topics you want to see, and I take them as priority. You also get to be the first person to see my new uploads before any other person, and sneak peeks of my behind the scenes projects. So anytime you're waiting for a new video and I haven't uploaded, just check out my other videos. I'm sure you'll find something you like. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye besties! Mwah.